The stars outside the alien space station burned cold and distant, silent witnesses to a secret meeting that could end everything humanity had ever known. Inside the vast black hall, shaped like a jagged dagger floating through space, 20 alien leaders sat around a glowing circle of light. Their skin was hard as stone, their eyes sharp as blades, and their voices hissed in languages no human ears could understand. But one of them, sitting perfectly still in the shadows near the back, was not what they believed him to be. Beneath the alien disguise, behind the pale gray mask and foreign armor, there was a human heart beating. Ethan Cross, the last hope of Earth, and if he failed, would be nothing left to save. The words of the alien council cut through the thick air like cold knives. The humans are weak, one growled in a deep, rattling voice. Their planet is open, their defenses soft. The time has come to end them before they spread further. Another, taller and darker, leaned forward, its glowing red eyes flashing. The weapon is ready. Release it. Burn their world. Leave no survivors. There were no cheers, no anger, just calm, cold agreement. The aliens saw no value in mercy. They spoke of extinction the way others might speak of the weather. It was nothing to them. Ethan's hands tightened under the table. He forced his breathing to stay slow, his eyes hidden behind dark lenses. If even one of them suspected, even one saw the tiny twitch of fear in his body, he would die before he could act. He was deep inside the heart of their empire, alone, unarmed, surrounded by killers. His mission was simple in theory: gather the final details of the attack plan, send the signal to Earth, and pray anyone could stop what was coming. But as the words of the council filled the air, he knew how close he was to the edge of failure. The attack was set to begin within hours. A weapon he barely understood, something ancient, something stolen, would erase humanity from the stars. Forever, unless he could stop it. The signal device, no bigger than a coin, was hidden beneath his wristband. It pulsed softly against his skin, waiting for his touch, waiting for the moment to send the final warning. But there were eyes everywhere. Alien guards along the walls, silent drones in the corners. Even the council members themselves, with their sharp senses and cold logic, might smell his fear if he lost control for even 1 second. He could feel the sweat slipping down his spine. He could feel the weight of millions of lives pressing against his shoulders. The council leader rose, its voice echoing across the hall. "Begin the countdown," it said softly. "The human world will fall in darkness before this rotation ends." Ethan's heart hammered in his chest. He knew what that meant. Less than 6 hours before the weapon was unleashed, less than 6 hours before Earth, his home, his people, his family, were nothing more than ash and memory. His fingers twitched toward the signal, but movement drew his eye. One of the aliens, a narrow-faced creature with silver skin, was watching him. Too closely, its head tilted, its dark eyes narrowing. "You there?" it hissed suddenly. "Who sent you? I do not recognize your code." Words hit like ice. For one frozen moment, Ethan couldn't move, couldn't breathe. The council's eyes turned toward him. Guards shifted. He forced his voice calm, flat, mechanical. "Unit transferred from Outer Ring 6, he said. In their language, his translator implant burning hot inside his skull. "Orders signed by High Executor Ralkesh." Kept his head low. "Yes." His fingers brushed the device under his wristband. Once, twice, triggering the first phase of the signal. A soft pulse of code raced through invisible frequencies. Far too quiet for alien scanners to detect. The silver alien frowned, but the leader waved a clawed hand dismissively. "There is no time for delays," it said sharply. "Focus on the extermination. Prepare the fleet. The humans die tonight." The moment passed. The council returned to its cold discussions. Ethan exhaled, silent, slow blood inside his veins. The fire was building. First signal was sent, but he knew it wasn't enough. Earth would need precise data attack vectors, fleet positions, weapon specs. He had to survive long enough to send the second phase. The meeting dragged on. Every second, a razor-s edge. He memorized everything: the deployment schedule, the location of the primary weapon, the name of the alien command ship. His mind burned to hold the details, even as his body weakened from the tension. Time was slipping through his fingers. The alien fleet was already moving. He could picture it in his mind. The dark ships burning across space, their weapons glowing with unnatural energy. Earth's defense grids too slow, too small, too blind to stop the coming storm. Finally, the council rose. The decision was made. Earth's death was sealed. Ethan moved with the others, silent, expressionless, as they filed from the council chamber. He walked through cold metal halls, past black banners and alien glyphs, his breath sharp in his lungs. He knew they would search him soon, knew the risk of discovery grew with every step. But he also knew something deeper, something that burned at the heart of every human since the first fires were lit on Earth's soil. Humans don't surrender, not without a fight. He reached a shadowed alcove just for a second, and slipped the second signal through the device. It flashed once, twice. Data poured into the void. Coordinates. Timelines. The key, too. Earth's survival. The signal was away, but the price was paid in the next heartbeat. Alarms screamed. The walls flashed red. Voices howled in alien tongues. His cover was blown. Ethan ran. The first plasma shot missed his head by inches. Guards shouted. Footsteps thundered. He sprinted down the endless steel corridors, heart slamming like thunder, his breath ragged. Mind fixed on only one thought. Survive. Survive long enough for the message to reach Earth. Survive long enough to make them regret ever thinking. Humanity was weak. The war had begun, and Ethan Cross was still alive. The sound of alarms filled the cold metal corridors like the cry of some dying animal. Red lights flashed across the walls, painting everything in shades of blood. Ethan Cross ran, his breath sharp and broken, his heart pounding hard enough to drown out the screams behind him. The station was awake, now fully awake, and the hunt had begun. Every shadow, every corner, every glint of metal could hide an enemy, and they were closing in fast. His boots slammed against the steel floor. As he turned sharply, his fingers brushing the side of his wrist where the signal device still burned hot under the skin. The message was away. He had sent the data. Every last piece, but he knew it meant nothing if he didn't survive the next few minutes. The alien council's guards were in motion, the security drones unleashed, the narrow corridors locking. Down one by one, he could feel the pressure building, the invisible walls closing around him like jaws. He ducked low as a plasma shot sizzled overhead, slamming into the wall and bursting in green fire. The heat licked the side of his face. He gritted his teeth, pushed forward, his mind racing through the map he had memorized blind corners. Hidden access ports, ventilation shafts. There was no way he could fight them all. Not here, not without weapons. But escape? Escape was still possible. Barely another door ahead, sealed. His fingers danced across the alien keypad, the implanted code in his neural chip overriding the lock. The door hissed open just enough for him to slip through before slamming shut behind him. Heavy footfalls pounded on the other side. Ethan exhaled hard, sweat dripping into his eyes. He couldn't stop shaking. Not from fear, he had trained that out of himself years ago, but from the knowledge of what was at stake. Earth. The memory hit him sharp and sudden his sister's smile. His mother's voice, the wind across an open field, things he hadn't seen in years, things he might never see again if he failed. If this alien plot succeeded, there would be nothing left but ashes and empty skies. I swallowed the thought down, locked it deep inside, and pushed forward. The corridor ahead twisted. Into a maintenance shaft narrow, dark. He slid through, his breath echoing in the tight space, every movement slow to keep silent. But he knew it wouldn't last. The aliens were fast. Their tech was brutal. If they caught him in the open, it would be over in seconds. A soft pulse against his wrist brought new fear. His signal device buzzed again, Earth's reply. Faint, broken through interference, but clear enough to bring a flicker of hope. Signal received. Preparing defense. Status. The words scrolled across his vision in glowing text. His lips parted in a bitter, breathless laugh. Status. The status was death on all sides. He keyed a shaky reply. Compromised. Pursued. Enemy weapon confirmed. Need extraction or further delay impossible. No response came. Only silence. He moved on. Minutes stretched like hours. Twice he had to duck into blind corners as patrols swept past alien soldiers with insect-like armor and glowing weapons that dripped with deadly light. He watched them move, precise and cold, their faces blank of emotion. He wondered darkly if they had ever felt fear the way humans did, or if they were just machines wearing flesh. Finally, the path opened. A hangar massive, empty, except for rows of sleek black dropships. The walls stretched high into shadow. For a heartbeat, Ethan let himself believe he had a chance. If he could reach one of the ships, if he could break free, he could lead Earth's fleet directly to the source of the alien weapon. He could end this war before it truly began. But then he saw them. Guards, dozens, armored, armed, waiting, as if they had known he would come this way. As if every step he had taken had already been written into some cruel map he couldn't see. Voice echoed across the hangar deep, cold and all too familiar. "Human," it said in the alien tongue. "You have been clever, but not clever enough." Ethan's blood ran cold. From the shadows, the silver-skinned alien, the one who had doubted him in the council, stepped forward. Its red eyes gleamed. Its claws twitched at its sides. Round it, the soldiers closed in. "Your species is stubborn," the creature hissed, "but predictable. Surrender now, and we will spare you the pain." Ethan's breath came sharp and ragged. His hands twitched toward the small plasma pistol he had stolen earlier, barely 3 shots left. He knew the truth. There would be no mercy. Not here. Not ever. He raised the pistol. The alien smiled. The first shot exploded from Ethan's weapon, striking one of the soldiers cleanly. The creature fell, armor sparking, but the others didn't flinch. Plasma fire rained toward him. He dove behind a crate, rolling hard as the air burned overhead. He fired again, miss, another guard down. But they were closing. It's too many. Gritted his teeth, slammed his fist against the wrist device one last time, and triggered the emergency override. The hangar lights flickered. A pulse of EMP ripped through the air, disrupting weapons' shields. Comes. Chaos. Ethan didn't hesitate. He ran. Shots fired wildly behind him as systems glitched and failed. His boots hit the deck hard. He leaped onto the nearest ship, forced the door open, and threw himself inside. Hands shaking, vision blurred with sweat and blood. He slammed the engines into ignition. The alien soldiers recovered fast. Shots struck the ship's hull. The door shuddered under impacts. But the engines roared louder. The ship tore free of the hangar floor, crashing upward toward the launch bay, smashing through half-open blast doors, fire trailing from the engines. Ethan barely held the controls as the station's outer doors cracked open to the void of space. One final blast of speed and he was through, out, for the stars opened around him. But he knew the danger wasn't over. The alien fleet was already in motion. The weapon countdown was still ticking. Earth had been warned, but the real war was still ahead. His voice rasped through the ship's broken comms. "Earth, this is Cross. I'm still alive." The stars burned around him, endless. And cold and far behind, the enemy prepared for war. The stars stretched endless and cold around the stolen alien ship as Ethan Cross gripped the controls with shaking hands. Its sweat dripping down his bruised face. The blackness outside was beautiful in the way a blade is beautiful, sharp, deadly, unforgiving. Behind him, the enemy station shrank into the distance, a gleaming scar in the void. But Ethan knew the truth. He wasn't free. Not yet. The real danger had only just begun. His heart still hammered from the escape. His breath came in short, ragged bursts. The ship, a sleek predator built for war, was alien in every way, its controls strange beneath his fingertips. Barely understood flickered across the glass, but he forced his mind to stay clear. He had trained for this. The mission wasn't over. Earth still teetered on the edge of destruction, and he carried the only warning that could save it. The small cum device on his wrist crackled weakly. Static. Then a voice broken, but human. Cross. Confirm. Status. Hostile signals detected. Response in motion. A rush of breath left his lungs. Earth command. The signal had made it through. He forced his voice steady. This is Cross. Intel transmitted. Enemy fleet mobilizing. I've stolen one of their ships. They know I'm alive. Being hunted. The static thickened. He caught only fragments. Hold. Position. Retrieval. Attempted interception. He let out a bitter laugh. There would be no easy retrieval. The enemy's ship's vast black daggers of metal were already moving. His sensors lit up with danger signals as multiple alien vessels shifted course toward him, their engines burning cold blue fire. The fleet was enormous. Too many for Earth's defenses to stop without warning. Too many for him to outrun. The alien council's voice still echoed in his mind, the cold certainty of extinction. They hadn't just voted for Earth's destruction. They had planned every step, every kill, every death. He knew then the signal he sent wasn't enough. Not yet. The full weight of their plantha weapon, yet the timeline, the final strike, was buried deeper in the alien systems. Data he hadn't had time to steal. He needed to get closer to the heart of their fleet, to the command ship, to the true council, a thought that chilled him to the bone. But he saw no other way. He slammed the ship into a hard turn, angling not away from the enemy, but toward them, toward the densest part of their fleet, the path of death. His breath came sharp. His fingers bled where they gripped too tight. But he spoke softly, as if to steady himself.
Are you one against many?
He whispered.
Let's see how far one can.
Go. The alien ships moved to intercept their weapons, lighting the dark with cold green fire. Plasma beams sliced past his hull. The stolen ship shuddered as warning lights flared. He jinked hard to the left, slamming the engines too full, slipping, through gaps too narrow for safety. Every second felt borrowed. Every breath stolen. In the distance, the heart of the alien fleet loomed massive, silent, the command ship that controlled them all. Its size dwarfed the others, a floating fortress of death. Somewhere inside, the Council of Death still gathered, still speaking of Earth's end, still blind to the one human they had failed to kill. He pushed the engines harder. Behind him, alien pursuers followed 3, 4, maybe more. His ship groaned, systems overheating, but he kept going. The command ship grew closer, its dark hull blocking out the stars, and then he saw it, a hangar port, small, unprotected. His only way in. He locked the stolen ship on course, knowing full well he wouldn't survive a second landing. The hull burned as energy blasts scraped past. Alarms howled. Fire licked the edges of the cockpit glass. At the last possible second, he ejected. The seat exploded from the cockpit, hurling him into the void. The stolen ship smashed into the hangar bay in a ball of white flame. The blast rocked the giant vessel, but Ethan's seat punched through the emergency barrier, slamming him hard onto the metal floor. Pain, stars, blackness, but he was inside. The world tilted as he pulled himself up, his breath ragged, bones screaming. His body barely responded. But his mind sharp as ice forced him onward. He staggered to his feet, tearing the harness away, and limped into the shadows of the vast alien corridors. He was back inside the monster's mouth. The corridors were alive with motion alien soldiers rushing toward the crash site. Alarms flashing. In red pulses, none of them saw him, not yet. He slipped through maintenance passages using every scrap of knowledge he had stolen during his time undercover. His heart pounded, but his footsteps stayed silent. The command deck lay ahead, the true seat of power, the place where he could steal the last piece of the puzzle, the weapon's exact location, how to stop it. But time was running out. The alien fleet was already in motion. Earth would be under attack within hours, maybe less, as he moved deeper. He caught glimpses through corridor windows, black ships burning across the void, missile platforms arming, energy weapons glowing to life. The invasion was unstoppable unless he could shatter its command. His breath came sharp and cold. He moved. Faster. Finally, he reached it. The council chamber. This one larger, colder than before. A black cathedral of death. The alien leaders stood in a circle, their voices low, cold, inhuman. Their backs turned. Data streams floated around them in glowing alien script. On one wall, he saw the holographic projection of Earth. Target. Locked. Countdown active. He raised his stolen alien weapon hands, trembling. This was it. He could end it, or die here. But either way, Ethan Cross wasn't going to let humanity fall without a fight. The chamber was deathly silent, save for the cold hum of alien machinery. Ethan Cross stood at the edge of the vast hall, heart pounding, sweat sliding down his bruised face, a stolen alien weapon shaking in his hands. Before him, the council of death, 20 alien commanders, still spoke in low, cold voices. Their twisted forms bathed in the glow of the holographic image of Earth. The planet hovered above them, serene, unaware that it had been sentenced to die. Ethan's breath came in ragged bursts. Every instinct screamed at him to act, open fire, to destroy whatever he could before they noticed him. But he forced himself to wait, to steady his shaking fingers. A single shot would do nothing. He wasn't here to assassinate. He was here to break the chain of command, to cripple the enemy from within, to send the last warning Earth needed to survive. One mistake, and it would all be over. The council's leader, the tall, silver-skinned alien with burning red eyes, raised its clawed hand. Its voice echoed through the hall, cold and empty. The countdown proceeds. The weapon is in position. Earth will burn within one planetary cycle. No survivors, no resistance. The others nodded. Ethan's stomach twisted with sickness. He could see the countdown, now huge numbers hanging in the air. 3 hours. That's all that remained. And then, without warning, one of the alien commanders turned sharply. Its eyes locked onto him. A terrible stillness filled the air. Intruder, the alien hissed in its harsh language. The others turned. Too late for hiding. Too late for lies. Ethan raised his weapon and fired. The first shot struck the nearest alien square in the chest, punching through its armor, sending it crashing to the ground. Chaos erupted. Alarms screamed. The council scattered. Guards poured. Through side doors, the air filled with the high-pitched shriek of alien voices. Ethan ran. His heart thundered. His legs screamed with pain. He dove through the nearest exit. As plasma shots scorched the air where his head had been seconds before, the walls lit up with red warning lights. He stumbled, nearly falling, but forced himself forward. He could still do this. He could still win. He crashed through a maintenance hatch, slamming it shut behind him. His hands flew across the control panel, locking the door. Heavy footfalls pounded closer, at seconds, maybe less. His fingers trembled as he pulled the signal device from his belt, the small round beacon that held Earth's last hope. He jammed it into the alien terminal, hacking into the systems with the last of the stolen codes. Symbols flashed. Lines of alien data scrolled across his vision. Come on, come on. The device flashed green. The final upload began, through the thin metal walls. He could hear the mammalian voices, weapons charging. The door groaned under the weight of incoming fire. But he didn't stop. He kept his hands steady, kept his mind focused. The device uploaded everything: command ship coordinates, fleet weak points, the weapon's true location buried deep inside the alien command structure. 1%. 2%. The door behind him buckled, ducked low, rolling to the side as the first blast tore the door apart. Alien soldiers poured through, weapons raised. Ethan fired wildly short, brutal burst, dropping 2 before they even had time to aim. But more came. Always more. 7%. 10%? He bared his teeth in a silent snarl, forcing himself up, weaving through cover as plasma bolts shattered the walls around him. Sparks rained. Smoke filled his lungs. He felt a sharp sting as a shot grazed his arm. But he didn't stop moving. 12%. 15. He had to buy time. He grabbed a fallen Alien explosive around metal sphere primed it with shaking hands and hurled it toward the advancing soldiers. The blast shook the corridor, hurling bodies across the floor. The upload climbed. 20%. 30. Another hit his shoulder this time. Pain was white-hot, but he barely felt it. His mind burned with only one thought. The signal must finish. He crawled toward the terminal as fresh troops closed in. The edges of his vision blurred. His breath came in broken gasps. His rifle was nearly empty. The device kept flashing. 50%. 60. He slammed another door shut, locked it. Punched commands into the alien console until his fingers bled. The station shuddered under a distant impact Earth's fleet. Perhaps? Or the enemy's own ships shifting into final? Attack position? He didn't know. Didn't care. Only the upload mattered. 70%. 80. The wall behind him exploded. He was thrown across the room, slamming into metal so hard the air punched from his lungs. His vision swam. His ears rang. But through the haze, through the agony, he saw the green light still flashing. 90-5. The alien soldiers stepped through the smoke, their weapons glowing, their claws twitching. The silver-skinned council leader appeared behind them, its red eyes fixed on him with cold hatred. "You lose," it said in perfect English. The words were soft, almost curious. Ethan spat blood, dragging himself upright. 9. He whispered. The device flashed. Upload complete. A silent signal pulsed through the Void Earth's command ships, receiving the final warning. The final coordinates, the final chance to fight back. The alien leader raised its weapon. But Ethan was faster. With the last of his strength, he lunged, smashing his fist into the terminal, triggering the self-destruct hidden in the signal beacon. The room lit up with blinding white light. The alien screamed. The explosion ripped outward, tearing metal apart, throwing bodies like broken toys, and then blackness. Ethan's mind drifted, weightless, empty, but somewhere deep inside, beneath the darkness, he smiled. The betrayal was complete, and Earth still had a chance. Darkness, cold, the heavy weight of chains. That was all Ethan Cross knew as consciousness slowly dragged him back from the edge of death. His breath came in shallow, broken gasps. His body ached so deeply it felt like his bones had cracked. He tried to move, but the cold metal wrapped around his wrists and ankles held him tight. The taste of blood was thick on his tongue. His vision swam in and out of focus. Somewhere in the back of his mind, he remembered the explosion, the beacon, the upload, the searing flash of light, and then nothing but the black. Now, it was here. Somewhere inside the alien command ship, somewhere deep beneath walls of steel and shadow, and they weren't done with him yet. The sound of footsteps echoed, sharp, clicking claws on metal. He forced his head up, every muscle screaming in protest, as the door slid open and the silver-skinned council leader stepped into the cold light. Its red eyes burned like coals. "You are resilient," it said, its voice soft, quiet, but filled with something colder than hate. "But your strength ends here." Ethan said nothing. His lips barely moved. His hands trembled from exhaustion, from blood loss. From the weight of knowing he might have already failed, the alien circled him slowly, claws brushing against the cold air as if studying a strange animal that humans have always been. "Difficult," it said. "Primitive. Fragile. But difficult. You are the proof of that." The claws gripped his chin suddenly, jerking his head up. Ethan's breath caught. He could feel the cold steel press into his skin. But this ends. Today the alien motioned. Another soldier stepped forward, taller, more armored, holding a strange device in its clawed hands. Ethan's eyes flicked toward it, instinct still sharp beneath the haze of pain. The device pulsed softly, alien symbols glowing along its curved surface. Memory extraction. He'd seen reports. He knew what it was. They weren't going to ask for information. They were going to take it, every thought, every plan, every secret. Tear it from his mind and use it to finish what they'd started. The invasion. The extermination. He forced a breath through his cracked lips, You're too late, he rasped, barely able to get the words out. Signals already gone. Earth knows. The alien's red eyes narrowed. Perhaps, but the knowledge inside your mind holds more value. Defense patterns, response protocols, human weaknesses. We will extract them. The device activated. Cold light washed over his skull. Ethan's heart hammered. He struggled weakly against the chains, but his strength was gone. His arms refused to move. The cold bit deep into his nerves. And then a memory, unbidden, sharp, alive. A field back on Earth. The wind, the sky, his sister's laughter, the sun on his face. It hit him like a knife, so vivid, so real that for a moment he couldn't breathe. The device was pulling. Another memory boot camp. His first drop mission. The fear, the cold, the fire, the dead. He gasped, blinking against the bright light. His hands twitched. The chains dug deeper. He couldn't let them have it. Couldn't let them tear through every part of who he was. Couldn't let them steal what made him human. He gritted his teeth, forced his mind back away from the memories, forced the faces of the people he loved deep into the dark where the device couldn't reach, but the pain was growing. His vision blurred. His breath came in ragged gasps. The cold light filled every corner of his mind, and still he fought. The alien tilted its head, studying him. Strange, it whispered. Your species should have broken by now.
The device
Pulsed brighter, but then a sudden jolt. Static. Something flickered. The ship shuddered. Ethan blinked. The pain stopped. Alarms wailed. The alien's head snapped up. It turned sharply. Across the room, lights flickered as warning signals screamed through the command ship's walls. A deep voice echoed over the alien intercoms in a harsh, guttural tongue. Ethan didn't understand the words, but he knew what they meant. Earth was here. He let out a breathless laugh. It's barely more than a whisper. His vision still swam. His hands still shook. But somewhere in the distance, through the haze of pain and blood, he heard the low rumble of distant weapons fire. The thunder of explosions shaking the walls. The human fleet had arrived. The alien commander's calm shattered. Its claws twitched, barked orders. The soldiers moved fast, grabbing weapons. Abandoning the interrogation chamber as the ship rocked harder under incoming fire, Ethan felt something new, then something sharp and alive inside his chest. Hope it wasn't over. The chains held tight. His body refused to move. But the sounds of battle, the screams, the gunfire, the tearing metal were growing louder. Somewhere above, Earth's ship's deathworlders were fighting back. He could almost hear the heavy engines of Terran cruisers. The crack of kinetic weapons tearing through alien hulls. The invasion wasn't one-sided anymore. And Earth had heard his call. He forced himself to breathe, forced his fingers to move. His hands scraped against the cold floor, searching, reaching. He felt the edge of something sharp, broken metal from the earlier blast. His fingers closed around it weakly. Pain blurred his vision again. He blinked it back. Outside the chamber, the alien ship shuddered hard. Another explosion. Sirens howled. He could hear distant alien voices shouting in panic, and still, he worked the sharp metal against the chains. It took everything he had, every last shred of strength, every broken bone, every shallow breath, but inch by inch the chain frayed. The metal groaned, and finally with a sharp crack it broke. His arm came free. He collapsed to the floor, gasping, barely conscious, but free. The ship shuddered again, harder this time. The lights above burst in a shower of sparks. He could smell smoke. The war was inside the ship now, and Ethan Cross broken. Bloodied, half-dead, was still in the fight. He forced himself up, dragging his shattered body toward the open door. The sounds of war growing louder with every breath, he whispered to no one. Not over. And then he vanished into the fire. The ship trembled as another explosion rocked its massive steel frame, metal groaning under the weight of fire and fury. Smoke filled the corridors in thick gray clouds, alarms wailed in every direction, and the cold blue emergency lights barely lit the way. Ethan Cross staggered through the chaos, his breath sharp and broken, his body screaming with every step. Blood dripped from his face, his vision blurred. But something deeper pushed him forward, something stronger than fear, stronger than pain. Earth was under attack. And if he didn't move fast, if he didn't find a way to end this from within, everything he loved would burn. He limped past shattered doors, past broken bodies, some barely recognizable as they lay in twisted heaps on the deck. The human fleet had arrived, but it wasn't enough. He could hear the distant thunder of battles overhead, the rumble of Earth's ships slamming into the enemy lines. But he knew the truth. The enemy's weapon, the one the Council had spoken of, was still out there, still primed, still capable of wiping out humanity in a single breath. Ethan forced his broken hands to grip tighter around the stolen alien rifle, its cold surface slick with blood. His heart pounded with each uneven step as he pushed deeper into the heart of the enemy. Flagship. Somewhere ahead, somewhere past the smoke, and the fire lay the weapon's control core. And if he could reach it, if he could destroy it, there was still a chance to stop the nightmare. He thought of home, not the grand shining towers of Earth's cities, but the sleek ships or battle stations. He thought of smaller things. A blue sky, the sound of rain. The warmth of hands he might never hold again. The simple things that made humanity worth saving. Another explosion jolted the floor beneath him, sending him crashing into a wall. His breath ripped from his lungs as he hit the metal hard, the rifle skidding across the deck. Pain flared white-hot down his spine, but he forced himself upright, his fingers scrambling for the weapon. The distant crack of gunfire echoed closer. Now Earth soldiers had breached the lower decks, but so had the aliens. The ship was a maze of death. He stumbled into a wide-open corridor, high ceilings, smooth metal floors, and froze. Ahead, standing between him and the path to the control core, were alien soldiers. At least 6, their armor glowed with dull green light, their eyes burning with cold fury. And standing at the center comm, silent, was the silver-skinned council leader. Its red eyes locked directly on him. The creature tilted its head, its voice soft. "You should not be alive." Ethan's grip tightened on the rifle. His legs shook. His breath came sharp. But he stood tall. "I'm full of surprises," he rasped. The alien made a low, cold sound, something like laughter without warmth. Its claws flexed. "The fleet above will fall. Your world will burn. You've delayed us, but you cannot stop us." Ethan's jaw clenched. His mind burned with one thought. He didn't have to win this fight. He only had to buy time. Time for Earth's fleet to target the command ship. Time for the last pieces of the signal to be decoded. It's time for hope. He raised the rifle. The first shot roared. The corridor erupted into chaos. Plasma fire lit the dark. The alien soldiers moved fast to fast, but Ethan dropped the first before they could react. The rifle slamming into his shoulder with brutal force. He dove hard to the left as return fire scorched past him, heat searing the air. He rolled, came up firing, his teeth bared in a grimace of raw fury. But they closed in fast. The council leader raised its claws, speaking commands in sharp, guttural words. Ethan's weapon clicked empty. The air burned as a plasma shot grazed his side. He screamed, his legs buckling, but he forced himself upright, forced every broken muscle to move. He threw the rifle aside, pulled the last explosive from his belt stolen during the escape, and hurled it toward the group. The blast ripped through the corridor. Heat, fire, shrapnel. He was thrown back hard, slamming into steel. The air knocked from his lungs. His vision blurred, edges dimming, ears ringing with the roar of the explosion. But when the smoke cleared, 3 of the soldiers were down broken, lifeless. But not the council leader. The creature still stood burned, scarred but alive. Ethan dragged himself upright, breath rattling in his chest. His hands bled, his side burned, but he moved, step by step, toward the core. The alien stepped into his path, red eyes flashing. "Why do you fight?" it hissed. "Your death is certain. Your people will fall." Ethan smiled through bloodied lips. "Because I'm human," he whispered, and then gunfire. The alien's head snapped sideways. Human soldiers poured into the corridor, Terran Marines in black armor. Oh, their rifles spitting fire. The council leader roared in fury, striking 2 down before it could retreat into the shadows, but it was too late. The soldiers reached Ethan, pulled him upright, weapons raised, cross. One barked through the helmet. He nodded weakly. The weapon, the core, that way? The Marines didn't hesitate. They pushed forward, weapons blazing, dragging Ethan with them through the broken corridor, past the burning wreckage. Deeper into the heart of the ship, every step shook with distant impacts. The war was here inside this place, inside this moment. And somewhere beyond the next door, the weapon waited. Ethan's breath came ragged, but his voice was steady. "Let's finish this." And the soldiers moved toward the final battle. The air was thick with smoke and fire. The ground shook beneath their boots as Ethan Cross and the Terran Marines pushed deeper into the alien ship. Their breath sharp, weapons raised, every step dragging them closer to the heart of destruction. The distant roar of battle echoed through the steel walls, the deep, rumbling thunder of Earth's warships trading blows with the enemy fleet. But here, in this dark corridor, the real war still waited. The war that would decide whether Earth lived or died. Ethan's legs barely held him upright. Every breath came jagged. His side burned from the plasma wound. His arms ached. His vision swam in and out of focus, but he kept moving. Marines in dark armor moved with cold precision, their rifles sweeping the shadows. But even they seemed tense now, their voices low, their eyes sharp. They knew what lay ahead. They could feel it, the weapon, the thing that could end humanity in a single breath. A door loomed at the far end of the corridor, massive, sealed, pulsing with strange alien lights. The command core. The final line. Beyond that door, the council's doomsday machine waited, humming softly, ready to be unleashed. The Marines set charges without speaking. Their hands moved fast, efficient. Ethan leaned hard against the wall, his breath rattling. He could feel the seconds ticking away like a countdown in his chest. Earth's fleet was still fighting above, but they wouldn't last forever. The enemy ships were too many, too fast. Even Deathworlders had limits. The explosives detonated in a flash of white fire. The doors buckled, twisted and fell inward, and they moved. The chamber beyond was vast round, endless, lit by cold blue light. Strange machines lined the walls, humming with alien energy. At the center, suspended in glowing fields of power, was the weapon. It wasn't what Ethan expected. It was beautiful, terrifying. A black sphere of shifting light, its surface alive. With cracks of white fire, its edges blurred as if it didn't quite exist in one place. Around it, alien machines pulsed, feeding it energy, stabilizing the impossible force trapped within. A gravity weapon, singularity device, one detonation, and Earth would be gone, not bombed, not burned, erased. The Marines hesitated only a moment. Move. Ethan rasped, forcing his battered legs forward. His mind burned with the knowledge he had stolen. The weapon could be stopped, but only from inside. Only by triggering a cascade overload that would tear the field apart before the singularity could form. It was a death sentence for anyone who tried. The Marines set up a perimeter, rifles sweeping the high balconies where alien soldiers were already gathering, their weapons glowing, their claws twitching. Plasma fire rained down. Sparks lit the air. The humans returned fire, precise and brutal. Holding the line, Ethan dropped to his knees at the control console. His hands shook. The alien symbols blurred before his eyes. He forced his fingers to move, tapping keys, overriding safeties, digging. Through layers of alien code burned into his memory. His breath came in shallow gasps. His heart pounded. Every second felt like a lifetime. The alien soldiers pressed closer, dozens of them, climbing the walls, dropping into the lower deck, their weapons hissing with deadly light. The Marines fought like devils. Ethan's voice was a hoarse whisper. Almost, his vision dimmed. Blood ran into his eyes. His fingers slipped on the controls. He could hear the Marines shouting, dying firing as fast as they could. The floor was slick with blood, both human and alien. And then the machine pulsed. The weapon's core flickered. A timer appeared on the alien screen, countdown active. Core destabilized. Ethan gasped. His breath caught in his throat. He knew what it meant. He had triggered the overload. But the window was short, too short. He could barely see, could barely think. One of the Marines grabbed him, hauling him upright. Time to go, the soldier. Barked voice sharp through the helmet. The others were already falling back, some limping, some bleeding, but still moving. Ethan shook his head weakly. It won't hold. Someone has to. The soldier shoved him forward. We're not leaving you? Move. They dragged him half-conscious through the fire and smoke, as the core behind them pulsed brighter, the air around it bending and twisting with unnatural force. The floor cracked, the walls groaned, the weapon began to implode. The Marines moved fast, dragging Ethan through collapsing corridors, past burning metal, through shattered doors. The enemy gave chase, but the humans held the line, firing, retreating, firing again. The ship itself seemed to scream as the Singularity core devoured itself. Finally, escape pods, sleek black cylinders bolted to the walls. The surviving Marines shoved Ethan inside the first pod, slamming the hatch closed. Others followed one by one till the last pods were sealed and then launched. The world tore away in a blur of motion. Engines screaming as the escape pods burst free of the dying alien command ship. Through the small viewports, Ethan could see the battle outside Earth's ships, still fighting, still burning, but the tide shifting as the command vessel's death rippled through the fleet. The weapon exploded in silent light. A wave of force rippled through space. The alien fleet fractured. Some ships fell out of formation, others vanished in fire. The Terran warships surged forwards, relentless, unbreakable, striking with renewed fury. The enemy was broken. Ethan's breath shuddered in his chest. His vision blurred with tears he couldn't stop, not from fear, not from pain, but from the sharp, terrible joy of knowing they had done it. The weapon was gone. Earth would live. The pod burned through the void, carrying him toward the waiting ships of humanity, and far behind, nothing but wreckage and flame. The stars burned cold and endless as the escape pod drifted through the aftermath of the battle. The shattered wreckage of alien warships spinning slowly in the dark. Ethan Cross lay slumped in the narrow seat, his breath thin, every muscle screaming, with exhaustion, but his eyes never left the viewport. Out there beyond the broken husks and smoldering debris, Earth's fleet stood victorious, scarred, bloodied, but alive. The war wasn't over. Not yet. But something had shifted. The nightmare that could have ended humanity, in a breath, had been destroyed. The Singularity weapon, the Council's doomsday, was gone, and somehow, against all odds, he was still breathing. A sharp voice crackled through. The pods come. This is Commander Reeves of the TSS Vengeance. All pods accounted for. Bringing you home. Ethan's lips twitched into the faintest smile. Home. The word felt strange in his mind, distant, almost impossible. He leaned back, exhaling slowly as the pod shifted course. engines burning soft blue trails through the wreckage field. But deep down, something gnawed at him. The enemy fleet wasn't completely destroyed. Scattered, yes. Broken, yes. But not gone. Not yet. He could see it in the way the remaining alien vessels fell back in cold precision, regrouping beyond the debris, retreating to the dark edges of the system. They hadn't given up. They were planning the next strike. The Terran fleet had won this round, but the true war was still waiting. The cum crackled again. Another voice, lower this time, touched with urgency. Priority alert. Scans detecting. Multiple warp signatures in Numi vessels withdrawing at speed. Possible regroup beyond Mars orbit. Defensive perimeter holding. Ethan's heart clenched. His fingers curled weakly. They would come again. He knew it. The aliens weren't finished. The pod shuddered softly as docking clamps locked into place. The hatch hissed open, bright lights pouring in. Hands reached in Terran Marines in battered armor, faces sharp with tension and relief. They pulled him free, voices sharp but kind. "You're safe. I've got you." He barely heard them. His eyes scanned the vast hangar, bayed dozens of escape pods, medics rushing between the wounded, officers barking orders. The air smelled of smoke, sweat, oil. Above, through the wide hangar shield, the stars still burned cold and endless. A hand touched his shoulder. He turned slow, unsteady, and saw her. Commander Reeves, tall, sharp-eyed, her uniform torn and stained with battle. But her eyes blue, unyielding, locked onto his with a soldier's respect. "You did it," she said softly. No smile, no ceremony, just truth. Ethan swallowed hard. His throat felt raw, not alone. Her eyes flicked toward the view beyond. "No, but without your warning, without your signal." She shook her head. Earth would have been ash. He said nothing. The weight of it sat heavy on his chest. Around them, the ship trembled, softly battle damage. The decks were alive with motion, soldiers preparing for the next strike. Engineers racing to patch wounds before the enemy regrouped. Ethan forced his legs to steady, pain lighting every nerve, but he stood tall. "The Council," he rasped. "They'll try again." Reeves nodded grimly. "I know, but this time we'll be ready." A silence stretched between them, not empty, heavy with everything that had been lost. Everything still at risk. Then dash another alarm. The ship's comes, lit up with sharp voices, multiple warp signals, confirmed enemy fleet elements, retreating. But tracking long-range displacement signatures. Estimated, they're not retreating to safety. They're calling reinforcements. Reeves' jaw tightened. They're bringing in something bigger. Ethan's heart sank. He could see it, the alien minds, cold and calculating, regrouping beyond the system. Calling for reinforcements from darker parts of the galaxy. This had never been about one battle. This was extinction on a galactic scale. And the Council, what remained of it, was still alive. The war wasn't over, but something in him shifted. He straightened slowly, battered but unbroken. "Then we hit them first," he whispered. "Before they can." Reeves' eyes narrowed. "You want to take the fight to them?" He nodded. "If we wait, they'll come back with something worse. If we move now, if we strike fast." Her lips pressed thin. Then she nodded. "I'll take it to High Command. But you're not sitting this out, Cross." He almost laughed. Wasn't planning to. The words felt strange on his tongue. He was broken, half dead. But somewhere, deep in his bones, the fire still burned. Same fire that had brought humanity this far. The same fire that the aliens couldn't understand. Could never understand. Deathworlders never surrender. Minutes later in the command deck, Earth's remaining fleet gathered. Massive screens flickered with data, enemy warp trails, fleet positions, damage reports. The atmosphere was grim but sharp. No one here had forgotten what was at stake. Ethan stood, leaning hard on the rail as the plan took shape. A counterattack, not just survival, retaliation. Across the screen, the remaining alien fleet gathered in the black, too far for immediate pursuit, but not unreachable. If they struck fast enough, hard enough, The Terran fleet's card, but alive, could carry the fight to them. The air crackled with orders. Fleet captains called in readiness reports. The engines of Earth's battleships roared to life. Ethan felt the weight of it settle. In his chest, they weren't fighting for survival anymore. They were fighting for dominance, for the right to exist. And they would not stop. Not until the enemy was broken forever. The stars outside burned cold. The void stretched endless. But Ethan, cross-human, death-worlder, soldier, stood ready, and the war, the real war, was just beginning.